This is our Forex blog for January 29th, 2013, and as you bring up the software today, you will see an auto upgrade. Once you update our software, the version is 4.311. One of the new features in this software is an updated Forex indexes, and if you click on the Top Gun chart examples directory, you will see Forex currency indexes where you can load those onto an existing workspace if you uncheck this. So I'm just going to click that now so you can see what it looks like. It basically shows the euro dollar, dollar, yen, pound, Australian, New Zealand, CAD, and Swiss as individual indexes and as charts. So you can see double tops, bottoms, and all kinds of other things that will allow you to be able to know which currencies that are strong and which ones are weak. These should actually load in about 2 to 3 seconds. I had another workspace loading that had 28 charts on it, getting tick data for 10 days, so I could do the value areas. Now, because I do the value areas for all 28 pairs, as you plus and minus on this chart, it will automatically rescale the chart to what's visible. See, that automatically scales. And one of the many different support resistance in here, the red line is hourly moving average of the index, the white one is a 15-minute moving average, previous day's highs in dotted green, previous day's lows in dotted red, and the point of control of that actual index, this is a Japanese yen index, is right here. And it's a great way of knowing whether to be looking for buys or sells. If a currency is underneath it, like obviously the dollar is, the Australian's above it, New Zealand's above it, CAD's above it, it's the currency you basically want to focus on buys. Notice how it found support here. This is another wonderful support resistance area in addition to the previous day's high, previous day's low, the 15 hourly. Now you also have the point of control. And you will frequently see the price go down to it, or in this case up to it in the yen. Notice how it did not act as support, but once broken it acted as resistance here and resistance here. This is where most traders in all the different yen pairs, euro yen, dollar, Swiss yen, CAD yen, Australian yen, and so on, most traders amongst all yen pairs have positions right here, and so that's why it's going to act as support resistance. This is a very, very high probability place to look to sell the yen. It was strong earlier. It broke down underneath its 15 hourly and also the previous day's value area. You could have sold any one of those levels at 8, and on this pullback it's very likely to find resistance here at 10.05, and you would want to find the strongest of all the currencies at that time at 10.05. Let's scroll back and let's zoom in on some of these charts so that we can see a little bit better price action here. 10.05, this one had pulled back. It didn't look that particularly strong. The euro was weak earlier and rallied up. It's got major resistance above it, so it wouldn't be necessarily one that I'd be looking to buy. Probably the pound is not a bad one at this point. Let's scroll back a little bit here. 10 o'clock, this one had broken from below to above the hourly. Notice how resistance once broken becomes support, and at 10 o'clock this one has had a little bit of a pullback. The trend's up. Obviously at 9 o'clock it's the highest probability place to buy. 10 o'clock's not too bad either. That's a good example of how to use this index to find very, very high probability trades. Higher probability than I think we ever had before with any of our other tools ever invented. Here's 10 o'clock. Notice this pullback. Whether you use a 5-minute chart or a range chart, if you bought it when it went above the previous bar's high, you got in at 76 and it got it all the way up to 07. It's a 30 pip move. Let's go to 5 pips per bar, 5R, and you can see even a higher probability place to be looking to buy this. Pulls back, coming up to 10, it goes above this bar here. You might have got in, out with about 6 pips. Buys, has another pullback. You go along right here with your stop a few pips underneath the low, and you can see nice smooth move up. At that 9 o'clock previous time when the index was actually hitting the hourly moving average here. Notice how this one had made a slightly higher high. You know, an uptrend's a series of higher highs, higher lows. You got this nice pullback. You go long right here, and when you're in the pound yen and you see the actual pound going up, 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 you can always watch the lows, and when it goes underneath the lows, get out of your pound yen trade. It just keeps going up, and it's pretty sure that you saw the exact opposite in the yen. So let's zoom in on this one. Notice how this one starts the day above the hourly, above the 15, breaks down. It's in between major support resistance area. It's likely to be choppy. When it finally breaks down here, it's a pretty safe place to sell. Comes up, you would expect possibly resistance here, and if it had come down, you would be looking to sell it, but it went above it. That's usually pretty bullish. A lot of times they go sideways like that. When they break out the upside, you want to go long. This one came down a little bit later here at 3. That's a pretty high probability place to sell, and so is this. When a currency finds support for an hour, hour and a half at a major support area, when it starts to go up, it's a pretty high probability place to buy. If you see one that's very likely to go down, so it's right around 7. Let's see what currency looks potentially weak at 7. The dollar does. It had broken from above to below the previous day's low. It's going sideways right here. So the dollar CAD is an excellent one to be selling. Weak dollar, strong CAD. And you can see, especially at 7 right here, it only fell about 7 pips. Pulled back. If you had gone short, short, short as the CAD was finding support and going up, you know, basically when one currency looks super weak and another one is holding major support, you know, and trying to go up, that's all you're looking for with these indexes. Signs that they're either strong or weak. And you can see the euro, when it had come down to yesterday's low and went sideways and broke down underneath there at 2 o'clock, which one was strong at 2? Well, it certainly wasn't the dollar. The yen is in the middle of the range, but it's underneath 2 major resistance areas, so I wouldn't have traded that one. At 2 o'clock, the New Zealand looks pretty strong. So, strong New Zealand, weak euro at 2 o'clock. Euro New Zealand at 2 o'clock is a very high probability, high odds trade to be selling. So here's 2 o'clock, you got a little bit of a move up, and notice it fell 10, 20, 30 pips. You know, and even if you got short right at 2 o'clock, right here at 6079, it never even went 10 pips against you before falling 30 pips. So that's the beauty of having these indexes. Not only do our statistical tools work on them, but you can actually see things such as a resistance area, the previous day's high. It rallies up to it, fails, comes right back down. That's a pretty high probability place to sell. It's even higher probability if the daily, weekly, monthly trend is down, which in this case it isn't. It's still a pretty high probability place to sell at 325. Which one is strong at 325? Well, the yen's just going sideways and breaks. You know, it's not weak, it's not really strong. Let's find some other ones here at 325. I would say the Swiss, pretty strong. It's above the 15-minute moving average. It's above the point of control. It's finding support here, and it's starting to go up. So let's look at the Swiss versus the New Zealand there. The New Zealand Swiss around 3. It's very likely to fall. Notice a false breakout in this particular pair too, and then it falls. And whether you got into it right at that time or a little bit late, you had you know, pretty easy 10-15 pip trade, even if you got into it 15 minutes late.